Hi guys, this is Simeon from Swedish Homestead. In today's video I want to talk about fencing that we use here for the different kinds of animals, why we use it. Some of you have asked about the greenhouse, how we protect it from predators. I want to answer these questions today. So as you can see, I'm right by our greenhouse tunnel here that we built ourselves on a low budget. If you haven't seen that video, check it out right here. But here is a big hole in the plastic, and a badger tried to break into this tunnel when we first put the chickens in here. And as you can see here, there's an electric wire. It's about 30 centimeters off the ground and about 30 centimeters away from the greenhouse that we have put up here, and that is all that is necessary for predators like foxes or badgers or others not to want to go into the greenhouse anymore because they get shocked. They can't be close by to dig because this is a psychological barrier. They will stay and keep their distance from this wire. There's no need for us to dig a netting or anything deep into the ground. This is really all that's necessary, and it's movable, so if snow slides down here, you can move it a little further away or move it up, so it's not stuck in the snow. And we found this works great, keeps all animals away from here because they can't stand close by the greenhouse, they can't dig, and this gives them enough respect to not go anywhere near. And it's pretty comfortable at the entrance to just climb over the wire, even with buckets in your hands or anything. It's not in the way for humans. Okay, so here we are now in the greenhouse, and I know I've shown this in a previous video, but I just wanted to go through it real quick. To protect this plastic layer from the greenhouse from the chicks, we are actually using a netting here, and in this case it was just a plastic netting that we had left over to put on the side so the chickens can't get to it. And this was very important. We also do that here, and we put a metal wire through the top here to get good tension on it. This for some reason is now loose again, but it's like this all around just to keep this plastic all protected from scratching and picking on the inside here. And it's this height that is high enough for the chickens. They don't really fly over. One of the really nice things about chickens is just the light infrastructure that you need. It's not like they're cows where you need, solid posts and strong fences and buildings and all of that. The chickens can't move heavy things. It's not very heavy stuff. And this is a electric netting that's actually meant for sheep. You see the gaps are wider and all of that. But we just wanted to test to have the chickens out on pasture on a rotation. So we used this, what we had, instead of buying a new poultry netting electrical. And this worked actually fine. Just a couple chickens went through there sometimes or flew over. But after we had put them back in and taught them, there were no issues. But this year we're going to buy an electric poultry netting that's higher, has smaller spaces. And this does two things. Fencing, for us, does two things. One, it keeps predators out, and two, it keeps the animals controlled where you want them. And this is essential for us here on our farm, just because we do a controlled grazing and pasture management with all of our animals. They don't have access to the whole pasture at once, so we need to control them. That's right. So here in the chicken stable we use this metal wiring, and a predator would bite through that. A fox would actually bite through that if you had that for a chicken coop. That is our experience, so we don't use it like that. But in here it's perfect, doesn't cost much. You can get a lot of meters for not that much money. And like I said, that's just the nice thing about the chickens, that the infrastructure for them doesn't cost so much. So this is here where I put the chicks, and you see that this is just about maybe 80 centimeters high, and the chicks walk on there, and the border here from the old boards is just maybe 40 centimeters, because they walk on about 40 centimeters of sawdust or wood shavings. And this is plenty. The chicks don't fly much. I've had occasionally that one jumps over, but then you just put it back in and it has learned its lesson. But we just have it in these short boxes. You can reach over easily. There's no reason for them to be like closed in all the way if they're on the stable and no predators can come in here. You just want it to be easy and easily accessible so that you can reach the water and the feed and all of that. Just this little box here is the next one that's right now waiting to be prepared for the next batch of chicks here. Now when it comes to cattle, it's a whole different story. Chickens need light infrastructure. You want to be able to move it easily and all of that. Cattle, they are huge and massive. And if you have them with a physical barrier, you need solid stuff. You need these kind of gates. And they're not ours, they're borrowed from a neighbor because these are very expensive. If you want to use wood, you can, but you need to build it solidly even there. But this we do now in the permanent shelter, and even when we will build our cow stable, it'll be built out of a physical barrier, not electric fencing. We never use that in the stables, only if we get them used to the electric fencing before we put them out on pasture again. But there are two different kinds of fencing principles that we use out on pasture. Let me show them to you. When we first bought this farm, or my parents bought this farm, we followed along as teenagers. They had the plan to have livestock on these fields, and all these fields were just full grown with underbrush and bushes. So we cleared them out, and then we built these permanent fences. Permanent fences are very important on a pasture because they mark the borders, and they will never be moved. That's why they are permanent. So this fence we built, and as you can see, back then we had sheep, no cows, and we had this kind of fencing with one electric wire here on top. But we noticed very quickly that if you didn't have an electric wire down here, the sheep would just really be hard on this. And then you see, because of the rock wall here, there was always a gap in between the rock wall and the fence that would grow grass and bushes and underbrush, and the sheep wouldn't reach this. So we try to find a solution for this, and now today we have also changed the way we graze, or we let the livestock graze the pastures. It's a controlled grazing, and we don't just need the permanent fence that goes around the whole pasture, but we also need a mobile fence system that will allow us to make small paddocks and small portions of the field available for the cows or sheep at that moment. And let me show you first what we did so that the animals can graze all the way to the rock wall, and then let me show you why we don't use this type of fencing anymore, what we use now to be able to do it mobile. So here you can see I'm standing by one of our rock walls that naturally separates two fields that we have. You have this field here, and you have this field on this side. And this rock wall, if it would be tall enough and no gaps here, you could use this as a natural permanent fence and borderline for these fields. But the animals can't go through here and over here. So what we did now, that we don't have to put a fence close to this rock wall, we actually have put rebar, drilled 10mm holes and put this rebar in here, put these isolators on here, and run one electric wire right by the rock wall. And at some spots we might have to do two, but this is always going to be the permanent fence. And this is what we want to do eventually on the whole property. We want to put a permanent electric fence on all the natural permanent borders like the rock walls, and even use electric fencing where there's no rock wall but still the border of the pasture, like in other places where the forest comes close to the pasture, for example. We're going to be using electric fencing. Why are we going to do this? Because the mobile fence system for the controlled grazing has to be, or it is very good if it is, mobile and electrical, because any physical kind of fence is heavy and really hard to move. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna connect a wire there, and then we have mobile fence posts, like kind of like rebar. You just put them in the ground and you go down to that permanent fence. Then you do the same back here. You go up and you reach this fence post, and then you have a part of the pasture where the cows can be in, and then the next day you move this down. Now electric fencing is a pretty high-tech invention that has been around now for some years, but it has enabled us farmers to fence and control our animals, and at the same time it scares away predators. And it is so light. I mean, the electric wire to run it from there over there, it barely weighs anything. You can do that in a few minutes, and that's perfect. Now, where do you put your permanent fence so that if you don't have the rock walls or the natural border like the forest down there? Well, you want to look at the key lines of your landscape. You want to see, if you do this controlled grazing, you only want the animals to graze on a slope, not a part of the pasture that's flat in the valley, then it goes up and then it's flat on top. The cows are going to lay more on top and graze more and less on the slope and all of that. So you search for the key lines, how your landscape is formed, and you let the permanent fences flow with how your land goes. That's what we will try to do. Most of our pastures are just have these natural rock walls. So you have one that goes here, and then over there you have one that goes down. This is a field where we plan to make hay in the future. Then you have a rock wall there, and then a little part of pasture before the forest starts. You have a rock wall here. But I have put out a video about keyline design and pasture management. You can check that out right here if you want to hear a little more about that. So this is how we do the fencing, how we plan to do it, how I will build this in the spring. You guys will be able to see me do that on the videos. But I'm a big advocate of electric fencing just because it's so light. It keeps predators out, it keeps your animals fenced in, and it enables you to just be mobile. Now, what we have done, because there's always electricity on the permanent fencing, since we connect the mobile fence to that, we always have electricity. We didn't need a solar charger, and the same with the poultry netting. But in the future now, we will have to invest in a solar-powered electrifier for the electric fencing. But all of that is comparably a very inexpensive investment compared to a physical barrier that you would need. But of course, the electric fence you have to check on daily. You have to look at it. Is there a branch that has fallen on it? Did a wild moose or whatever it might be in your area run through it and break the wire? You have to check on it all the time to make sure that it's still working and intact. And so there are a few ups and a few downs, but I hope you enjoyed this video of how we do it and found it helpful. And working in smart ways with this electric system is just really helpful and saves money and work. I forgot to mention the pigs, and they just walk with one electric wire. That's enough for them to walk out in the forest or on a pasture. They respect that so much, but you have to keep that on, because every day, once or twice, our pigs touch the fence, and if they don't get a shock after a day, they're out of there. So it needs to run. You need to make sure it works. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, and give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.